Lovely. Very good evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're joining from. A warm welcome to yet another learning session from the ICF Bengaluru Charter Chapter. We've done competency deep dives earlier. We've done 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, and 1 were left. But then Subhash has put up his hand to do competency 8, and I jumped and grabbed the opportunity and said, yes, let's do it. Let's see a different way of deep diving into the competency. So we are going to be doing a deep dive into competency 8. As you already know, the session is being recorded. Would love for all of you to keep your video audio on and be engaged. However, I understand and respect if you don't choose to be recorded, and I respect that decision of yours too. A little bit about Subhash before I hand it over to him for an amazing discussion. Subhash has over 30 years of experience in both corporate and business world, leading and mentoring teams across geographies in business and leadership P&L roles. He's a leadership executive business coach with over 5,000 hours. He has coached business leaders working with global brands, also a career coach at InSeed, executive coach at Landit, Photon, and Coach Source. I'm going to Google what these are, Subhash, after our session. But super excited to have you here to talk to us about competency 8. And I'll always keep telling myself that 3 and 8, most important competencies, 3 and 8, most important. So very happy to have you on board to talk to us about competency 8. Over to you, Subhash.
Thank you, Shanti. It's always a pleasure to come back. I'm actually returning after a long time for a session with the Bangalore chapter. Thank you for the opportunity. As Shanti rightly pointed out, CC3 and CC8, setting goals and action. Right? ICF uses different words, but action is what I use comfortably, conveniently. Are the two pillars of any conversation for sure, and because of that, as part of the engagement. No, I don't have a presentation or a deck. I've kept both the markers and the competency framework open. I'll go to it whenever there is a need. I want this to be interactive, as Shanti rightly pointed out, because I can see most of you whom I know are all coaches, experienced coaches. So there is, let it be a conversational interaction, and we co-create something new, which is what we should be doing anyway as a coach. So a quick question to set the context. Why do clients hire us for coaching? Just one word, if you can please put it on the chat. Why people hire us for coaching? Any coaching, life, executive, business, spiritual transformation. Solution, okay, self-aware, bringing about change, yes. They want small positive change, okay. Solution, it's coming really fast. Yeah. Maximize potential, straight from the ICF definition, move forward. Clarity, move forward. Growth and development. They're stuck, they want to change, yes. To see progress. So, for me, my take on it is clients hire us for coaching, for what one of you said, for transformation. Again, one word, unleash potential, maximize result. I can't agree more morally, but I feel there is that nagging feeling from within, that call to adventure that Joseph Campbell speaks of in Hero's Journey, that somewhere from within or from outside, it could be internal nagging, that feeling, or it could be an external, some inspiration or some push or a challenge that will force the client to take that first step, which is the call to adventure. And people speak about transformational coaching and transactional coaching. For me, there is nothing like transactional coaching. Transactional coaching is an oxymoron for me. Yeah, and I'm not deliberately trying to elevate this into a higher realm or a higher frequency. No, for me, if as coaches or as a coach, I'm not working for the transformational shift in the client, I'm not coaching. It's okay. I'm doing something else for the benefit of the client and the service of the client. So the first thing is setting the context. We are talking about CC8 in the context of transformational shift. So, a client comes to me that saying that I've been stuck in this role, middle level, for some time. I don't know, there is something preventing me from going to the next level, CXO role. I want to do that in 3 years, and in another 2 to 3 years, I want to become a CEO. So 3 to 5, 3 to 6 years, I want to become CXO to CEO. So that is still a symptom. And if you drill down why and the CC 3.3, what makes it important for you to move into that space, into that corner office, client will have ready-made answers. Yeah, but that's not the reason why the client comes to us for coaching. So if we are, just focusing on addressing that, even if it is an audacious goal, 3 to 5 years CEO, CXO from a middle level can be an audacious goal, and you feel that that is good enough, that is only a starting point. Now, again, some of the senior coaches know here very well. I'm bringing in my, I'm wearing the hat of a PCC assessor. We say that if there is no 3.1, what do you want to accomplish in this session? And then you reconfirm that 3.1. If there is no 3.1, we say there is no PCC level conversation. The client is given an opportunity to explore the possibility of the goal behind the goal. It is not a coach's, it's not my obsession as a coach to push the client or nudge the client in a light way. No, it is not my need to identify, but am I giving enough opportunity for the client to look at the possibility of what is behind that need to become a CXO CEO in 3 to 6 years. And that is 3.1. So especially when you reconfirm, there's this word reconfirm also in 3.1 when you look at the PCC marker. That's where it sets the context. So if the client comes with a specific goal like CXO to CEO in 3 to 6 years, 3.1 gives us the opportunity to enlarge the scope of it without that being my obsession as a coach at the cost of repetition. So why we also see that once we move from an ACC to PCC, typically, not so much about credentialing, I'm talking about proficiency. There is a tendency to move from what to who. But ICF never encourages that. ICF talks about, mixing what and who, or the who behind the what. It's just not who in isolation. It's still about extrapolating that what, but what is behind it. I'm deliberately, consciously spending some time on setting the goal because that's what will help me to move into the CC8. Now, set the goal. When we do deep exploration of the goal, and then we move into the second phase. CC3 and CC8 are very structured. You have 4 competencies in CC3 sub-competencies. You have 9 sub-competencies in CC8. You are expected to tick that in a conversational way, without being seen as a coach-centric conversation. Coach-centric conversation is not coaching. So is there a partnering where you're in the flow, in the conversation, in a spirit of partnering? Are you taking all the competencies in the service of the client? But when it comes to the middle portion, which is, the 7.1, the client's needs, beliefs, biases, values, all those stuff are explored in that middle portion of deep exploration. I just call it deep exploration when we mentor coaches. It is setting the goals, then deep exploration, which organically leads to awareness. Now, CC7 is about awareness, right? And only if you have done CC3 and the rest of the CCs of exploration, it'll move organically into CC7. Yeah, at an MCC, we even look for a CC7 at the goal setting stage. Yeah, but at least towards the later half of the conversation, see something emerging in the conversation. Now, the metaphor I use is Amrit Manthan. It's as grander as Amrit Manthan that we don't know. Humanity did not know what is emerging. Even those Devas and Asuras on either side of, holding Vasuki did not know what is emerging. And what emerged was not only Amrit, more mysterious things, right? So what can emerge is that curiosity that the coach carries, and the client discovers. That is CC7, leading to action. So the client pays us for the action. So I'm very clear as a coach, as a practicing coach, the client doesn't pay me for setting goals and going behind the goal and looking at the potential and everything that is said. But I feel the client pays us for that awareness, which is leading to action. So only if there is action, we are justifying the engagement or a conversation, or that can only come from an awareness. It can only come from deep exploration of those beliefs, biases, values, needs, everything that is at 7.1. I'm just picking up one sub-competency. There's a lot more, as you all know. But that again depends on how well we do CC3, the goal setting. Yeah, so the client, I'm repeating consciously that client pays me as a coach for that transformational shift, which comes from the action. Because action results in habit change. Action helps the client to create that neural pathways, if you look at it from the neuroscience point of view. And that's what enabled the client to look at the new possibilities outside the comfort zone. Yeah, so that is the most critical element of the flow. Yeah, I can say, Ajit, go ahead.
Thank you, Subhash. Thank you, Shanti. So, Subhash, the question I have is, you very rightly pointed out 3.1, if the goal is not set, and then rest of the markers will not get ticked also. The one of two instances that I got stuck was that from a competency tick mark point of view, yes, I did ask that question, and reconfirming the client whether this is the goal, this is what you'd like to accomplish. But every time the client kept changing that, and as it happened that once that first time the question was asked, the answer came in. As I reconfirmed or I paraphrased that, the client again changed the time thought process on that. And it happened so that in 45 minutes or so, we could never reach an agreement saying this is the goal that you would like to move forward with. So from a competency point of view, marker point of view, yes, tick box. But moving forward in the coaching conversation did not happen. How is that taken up for evaluation or from a PCC evaluation point of view then?
Thanks, Ajit. So one point, as a larger answer to the question is, as a coach, we are a professional coach. As a professional coach, I have the responsibility to manage time. And when I say manage time, and going back to the point that I made earlier, that the coach pays me for the action that the coach, the client discovers in the session, I have a responsibility to the client to ensure that I complete the process on the time that I've agreed upon. So there will be one or two exceptions here and there. We should not be concerned about that. But typically, after the chemistry session, when we have set the context, and maybe after the first session, we need to ensure that every session you cover these basic elements of setting the goal, exploration, awareness, and action. Because only then we are doing justice to the client. See, markers are a framework to serve the client.
Yeah.
It is not only serving the client, it's about partnering with the client. So that is one thing, right? We have a responsibility to manage time. The second thing is a reflective client who is not getting that space to share so much, and you are giving such a magical space to share, and the client knows that this space with Ajit is absolutely safe, confidential. The client can go non-stop.
Yeah.
I am somebody who don't speak. I'm an introvert. I don't network. But when I am a client, I just speak. It's difficult to even stop me. So, again, if you have done the contracting that, we are doing the session for say 60 minutes and you plan for 45 minutes. That is my invitation. Don't plan for 60 minutes because you still have a 15 minutes cushion or 10 minutes cushion and you break. Now, I'm trying to answer Ajit's specific question. For example, we feel up to 50% of time can be spent on goal setting CC3. The entire CC3. Some say 40% is good enough. Some mentors say even 60% is good. Plus or minus, it doesn't matter. So if you have mentally, made a plan, or you have a style that 50% goes on goal setting and the balance 50 on the rest of it, manage that time. I'm just reiterating the point of managing time.
Okay.
Now, answering a specific question, right? Assuming that it's not an exception, and if there is something repetitive, I would invite you to look at the CC 3.1. Within CC3, that 50% time, if you're spending on that, spend a good chunk of time on 3.1. So if the client is bringing up something that is personal and deep and is very talkative, the client will go non-stop. It's a good idea to, kind of bring in, the client would just open up a Pandora's box. Then ask the client within that, what is it that you want to accomplish in this session? Encourage the client to pick up one thread. The client might say that there are 4 threads. Why should I pick up one thread? Everything is important. Encourage the client to start with, let us start with one. And maybe you will get clarity on all the 4 and more by the time we end the session. So encourage the client to pick up one thread as part of 3.1 and then move forward into 3.2, 3.3, 3.4.
Okay.
Last point, if at all, this is an invitation to all of us, right? If we see a specific trend in our conversations across clients, that's a good time to reconnect with a mentor or a supervisor. It happens. It happens. And you'll be shocked that, we just pick up something new and we don't even know. And nobody's observing our conversation, unlike in training programs, right? It's a very important that once in a way you go back. Last point, CC2, the video of ICF on CC2, he speaks about the ritual before and after, the mentor coach. He talks about making this journey very reflective. So another invitation is after every session, is absolutely non-negotiable. We should spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes to just note down what I did well and what I did not do well. Don't worry, don't think of it in the session, but only after the session. And what is important, you'll remember. If something you remembered in the session or something came up and you forgot, don't worry, it is not important. Be in that self-care mode. It'll work magic. And I always say that ICF doesn't know the true power of the ICF framework. Even ICF doesn't know. Not even the mentors who created that. Some of them I know personally. Janet Harvey has been my mentor too. The thing is, the magic that comes up session after session, client after client, is just too much for that framework to capture. So that's why it becomes very critical that we note down, after every session. Who am I as a coach in that session? Just after the session. And you will see that trend. And then go to a friend, catch hold of, all of us are available here. Catch hold of someone in the community whom you are comfortable. And this for everyone. I'm taking a long answer for a short question. But there's something that I have seen. This is my 12th year as a coach. Every now and then I pick up a thread that, this not going in the right direction. Then I connect with someone and I have this mentoring conversation. And I come back on track. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Subhash.
Thank you.
Yeah. Very much. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
Anyone else? Any other question? Yeah. So, Shanti, if you can please allow me to share the screen. Yeah, so while that's happening, since I mentioned chemistry session and contracting in response to Ajit, one thing that I do personally is that I always tell in my chemistry session that I come from a sales background and I don't come from an HR background. And I was never a good student, smart student with high grades. I'm a very ordinary person. But what I have done well is over the last 12 years, I've just stayed within the framework of ICF coaching. And I've plugged in some other elements like EMCC and the assessor training. So what I can do well is coaching, the pure coaching. But I always say that this is very important, right? I say that there's an image that I want to show you. And I pretty much use this, a lot of things I do coming from sales background is templated, not, pure template assets, but I bring a lot of flexibility. So I say that any Tom, Dick and Harry coach can take you from point A to point B. So, and I tell my prospects also, you're paying, you're paying or company is paying, you're paying with your time, energy and effort to move from here to here, but also to go beyond that. If you're just going to stop from here, then you're not done justice to each other. And your shift to the area beyond that, I call it manifest magic hashtag. Yeah, manifest magic. And that's a permanent phrase that I use. If you want to manifest magic, which we don't know what is going to be, it will depend on the actions that you take. And magic need not happen in the session. More often, it does not happen in the session. So the performance pressure that we tend to carry in the session is also out of the window. The moment I am convinced that I don't need to deliver anything in the session, and the client is aligned with that, the client will commit to action. And it's only the action that will get the client to achieve the goal. Yeah, so I set this expectation right in the chemistry session, and I keep building on it along the journey. Yeah, so this is very important that whatever works for you, you also communicate to your client. Second point is also that I share a lot of examples, and as we progress, I'll also share some examples here. Yeah, I have some favorite stories that I tell, but I pick and choose what is the profile of the prospect or the client, and I keep bringing in some stories. Less at the later stages, because we are not supposed to tell our stories, but more at the early stage, especially the chemistry session. Yeah. Now, why again? Couple of things I noted down. Why this makes so much sense. Act like a lead. I know act or CC8 becomes very important. Yeah. One, there's a magnificent book by one of our INSEAD professors, which says act like a leader, think like a leader. She says a lot of leaders waste a lot of time strategizing, intellectualizing. They don't roll up the sleeves and get into the act of execution. And I think that's something that we see in a lot of high potential clients that we coach. So act like a leader, think like a leader is something that also kind of inspires me to encourage the client to be action oriented. And those of us who are from, my generation, In Search of Excellence was a very popular book, a must read during the B school days. They also talk about a bias for action. So we always knew that it is the action that helps us to make the transformation shift. But then we still don't act, right? And the fact that they don't act is the reason why they hire coaches like us. Yeah. Just to refresh. I'm just looking at the definition. Rest of it, I'm not going to look at. ICF brings CC8 under cultivating learning and growth. Now a question, right? Just to keep you engaged. We as coaches, or we as just human beings, or we as leaders, John Whitmore says, coaching is leadership. So we all are leaders, whether we agree or not, whether we act like a leader or think like a leader, right? Why are we here? Can you please go to chat and type one word again? Why are we here on this planet? To grow, yeah? Yeah, in summer, learn and grow, yeah. Serve, to contribute to evolve, to fulfill our purpose, yes. Evolve and contribute, yes. Purpose, identify and fulfill our purpose. Yeah, identify and fulfill our purpose. I like it. Very often we don't know that, achieve our potential for sure, because that's what we are going to help our clients to achieve. So if I'm not chasing my potential, personal and professional, then am I even equipped or am I even qualified to partner with my client? Learn and grow, gain perspectives, impact creation, taking learning forward. Yes. It's not enough to learn, take it forward, reflect and correct, is reach your potential. So why the point that I want to bring in, some of you may not agree with this, that's a disclaimer upfront, is that all coaching that we do was never about the client. The transformation that we agreed, transformation came through, and that's the word that resonates for me, transformational coaching, or all coaching is transformational. But the transformation was never about the client. The transformation was always about me as a coach. All coaching was always about self-transformation. Every client is a default coach. Every coaching conversation, the client is also holding the mirror to us. So we are not looking at that mirror at all, because we are focusing on the client's problem, client's opportunities, client's learning, client's awareness and actions, and client's growth. But let us not forget the key point that all transformation is self-transformation for the coach in a coaching conversation, in a coaching relationship, or a coaching engagement. Yeah, even if you have a challenge or struggle with that, stay with it. I leave that thought with you for you to reflect on. You don't need to agree on everything. Yeah, so couple of examples that came are, we are here to learn and grow. I can't agree more. I'll just finish this point and then I'll come back. So cultivating learning and growth. So learning is an ongoing process resulting in growth. So we are here to learn and grow. Now, while introducing what Shanti did not share, which I don't really promote, is also that I'm also certified and a practicing healer. No, I've trained and got certified in 2 areas of healing, and just gone deeper into that space. And I actually feel that I heal through coaching. I don't see a dichotomy between coaching and healing as we see between coaching, mentoring, or coaching and therapy. I mean, it all comes together. Though I'm very process driven, I'm 6 Sigma compliant on ICF framework, especially I'm also a mentor. Yeah. So ICF defines CC8 as facilitates client growth. So one, it is a catalytic support to the client to facilitate that growth. And it's an ongoing process. When we agree that we are here to learn and grow, there is no end to it. Right? Till we hit the grave, we are learning. We are on that journey to learn. So to that extent, it's an ongoing process. And it's more so as a coach in any coaching conversation, because it's all about self-transformation. Now, if there is one thing that I really want you to reflect on, is coaching was always self-transformation. Yeah. So ICF defines CC8 as partnering with the client to transform learning and insight into action. So again, there is transformation, there is learning, there is insight, but it's all leading to action. So if there is no action, there is no transformation. And all the action, we know. CC 3.2, we ask, what is that you want to accomplish in this session, or the measure of success in this session? But we know that the action the client is going to take after the session, however small or big the goal is. But that goal comes from that learning and insight. Yeah. It also promotes client autonomy in the coaching process. Again, there's a lot of confusion between client centricity in coaching and partnering. If you choose to be an Amazon with your client, then you're unfair to yourself and to your client and to the process. Coaching was never about letting the client all the power and responsibility. It was always partnering. So don't let all the power in the hands of the client. Make sure that it's a constant evolution in a partnering way. Now, this is something that I use in my coaching and my mentoring. The coach and the coachee are at the bottom. Coach is here, or vice versa. But the partnering is what goes here. And this is to some extent the process. I'm surrendering to the process of coaching. It's not ICF framework alone. It's beyond ICF framework, but it also includes ICF framework. So this is what partnering is. That's why I said definition has partnering. When you're just client-centric, the coach is here and client is here, you're here. It's very unfair to the client and unfair to yourself. So always look for partnering. And PCC is here, we know. For all our evaluation, we're looking at the level of partnering. So like 3.1, I said, if there is no partnering, we're just leaving everything to the client, it is okay at an ACC level, client centricity. But partnering is what makes it a deeper conversation at a PCC level. And an MCC for me is beyond. MCC, one of the lessons I learned is it's a conversation between two great friends, but it's still not a coffee table conversation, and there's a structure to it. So make sure that there is an elevation of consciousness in the conversation. The client and the coach vibrates at a higher frequency and discovers something totally new. That leads to action. That's where the inspiration comes. So ICF defines, as it's inspiring the client to take action, right? The word inspiring is part of the ICF definition. The inspiration only will come from you. Yeah, I can see. Yes, Anurag, over to you.
Subhash, thank you for the presentation on CC8. I deeply sort of resonate with CC8's importance. But I fundamentally disagree with you when you say that, it is the coach's self-transformation that is very important, and one of the goals possibly that you mentioned of a coaching conversation. Because, what we understand, what my limited understanding from CC8 is that end of the day, it's like one is walking along with the client in a garden, and the client is taking the steps to wherever they want to go, and you are basically a facilitator. You are owning the process, right? And you're sort of a catalyst, and asking questions on what they want to achieve and what they want to do. So I fundamentally don't agree that this is about the coach's transformation. I feel it's ultimately, I think, that open, flexible, curious, and customer centricity, that coaching mindset piece, which I think John had mentioned yesterday in a WhatsApp group also. I feel that's what is the fundamental trait that a coach needs to bring about. That customer centricity is quite key. The self-centricity of the coach is possibly not the goal of a conversation. How do you react to this or respond to this?
So the first point, the goal of the conversation or engagement is not self-transformation. I'm not saying that. In the conversation, we are looking at co-creating or partnering. Again, I'm repeating, it's not just purely client-centric, it's partnering. Client-centric is still, more tilted towards the client. Partnering is, it's a salsa, it's a jugalbandi. Yeah, they are not letting go total control to the client, but there is a partnering, and that is what classical ICF coaching is within the framework. So the objective of the session is never my self-transformation when I'm working with the client. The client does not pay for my transformation. No, but the point is, that's why I said you may not agree before I even offered that. Because when this came to me through a fellow coach, when somebody mentioned that, I also did not agree at that point of time. But I sat on it, and it has it has grown within me. So my invitation is, at this point of time, I agree with you. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. But make it partnering, salsa kind of a thing. At the same time, there is some self-transformation that's happening. Now, additional point to, just my point of view, right or wrong, is that's where my CC2 comes in.
Sure.
We all know, we love this author, Marcia, who says, mastering coaching is not, upskilling, it's deepening presence. For me, that is still one level of mastery, with all respect to her. She's someone whom I admire. She's my role model in this space, one of the role models. But for me, is that the end? No. Very recently, as I said, I'm also in a little bit into healing space. I thought nirvana was just one end. Satchitananda or self-realization, across different religions was just the end game, end of the journey. Now I am told there are 7 levels of nirvana. So there is not even, I mean, even if I reach that first level, God willing, in this birth or any future birth, there are still 7 levels. So the point is, just because I didn't know about 7 levels of nirvana, was it not there? It was there. So coming back to the framework, if I have to embody coaching mindset, then it is about self-transformation. Look at it, Anurag, from the context of CC2. And unfortunately, ICF doesn't have a lot of clarity on CC2 in either the PCC markers or when they define it. Yeah, it is about embodying. You are that walking encyclopedia, not at an intellectual level, but just using that metaphor that I'm a coach in all my roles and intervention. And I'm not. I'm nowhere near that. But once I start embodying, then I am the best coach. Every session can be transformation. You raise yourself to the realm of a master coach, a coach at the level of mastery. So I call this again, unconscious competence is what we are very familiar. We use it often, all of us. But I kind of use it more in the Eastern context, that coaching from a state of being. If that is my goal, my ability to do every session from a state of being, then I have to embody coaching mindset. It's just not about the mindset. Every cell should vibrate as a coach. Listening, presence, awareness, much beyond CC7 awareness. In that context, if I'm embodying coaching mindset, then it is self-transformation. Again, in 2015, one of the participants in our PCC module who was already in ACC through CTI, he did it in US. Somebody was 62 at that point of time. He was just pursuing PCC because his mentor in the US said, you have to get your PCC. That's why he was there. Otherwise, he was at an MCC session after session. So when I had the first call, Anurag, with him, I asked him, what do you do? He said, I am a sannyasi. So my first reaction, my bias, my belief, my thought was, do I want a sannyasi in my classroom at Chennai? The conversation went, we kind of hit off well. I was still not sure. I asked my partner in crime, my fellow mentor, saying that, you should talk to him. I said, I insisted both of you are in Chennai, you should meet. But they couldn't find a mutual time to meet because this guy was traveling again. Then they connected over the phone. So my co-facilitator said, you seem to be overreacting to the sannyasi bit. He seemed to be a nice guy. It might be interesting to have, that diversity in the room. Let us take a chance. And we allowed him in. So Anurag, he was at that time when CC2 was not even there. At that time, CC2 was goal setting. CC3 came now recently, right? CC2 was not even coaching mindset. It was not there as explicitly as it is here today. We saw. So when his session month 2 was happening, other old learners from Chennai would come and sit in the classroom behind, because this guy would demonstrate session after session mastery. The reason why, he was focused, as a sannyasi, he was focused on self-transformation. So I'm giving a real example for someone who was on that journey of self-transformation. There are some people from that cohort today, even when I meet them now, there's somebody in Delhi, a PhD. She doesn't ask me, how are you? She asks me, are you in touch with so-and-so? How is he? The point I'm saying is, I'm bringing in not the sannyas element, nothing. I'm talking about he could demonstrate mastery session after session on his PCC leg. He was the person who said, quote unquote, every client is a default coach. But he didn't say that it's a transformational journey for the coach. That came from another PCC from our community much later. Yeah, so sit with this. I'm grateful to Anurag that he brought it up. But there's something that I invite you to sit with this. And offline, I'm always willing to have a conversation.
But that may be because you have already reached near the 7 levels of Nirvana.
No,
I am
no.
only at the Nirvana rock band level. So that's why my
I'm one
question.
step behind you. I'm one step behind you. Very clear. Yeah.
Subhash, John Sarava is actually resonating with what you said. He says the fourth level of listening that Otto Scharmer talks about is the possibility of the coach being transformed by the learning that happens through the listening and presence. And people are resonating to that too. I'm asking Manoj's questions. Please clarify what are the elements of partnering. And after that, we'll go to Mike's question.
Elements of partnering, I invite others to put it in the chat box. Great question. Yeah, what are the elements of partnering? One word on the chat box, please. Let us co-create this. Fantastic question. Thanks, John, for that. Good to have you here. Equal table, yeah, that's one answer. You can see the power of the question by the silence, right? Metaphorically, yeah, it's coming. CC2, co-create, deep presence and compassion. I love that compassion bit, Mike. Intentional partnering, yeah. But what are the elements of that intentional partnering? Deep presence, okay. Curious and flexible, trust, yeah. Unconditional positive regard. We'll never go wrong with that, absolutely. UPR, empathy, trust and integrity, yeah. Thank you. So, if I can go back to this. See, again, I don't think ICF does enough justice to this. CC3, to some extent, this addresses what are the elements of that partnering. So here you can see it's not only partnering with the client or the coachee, it's also the relevant stakeholders within the framework of that confidentiality. Yeah, and it's about the coaching relationship process, plans, and goals. So it's about every element of that engagement. That's why one of my learner coaches from Chennai, in month 2, he said, I just discovered that coaching is not a 1.5 hour event. Yeah, I keep quoting him now. Coaching is not a 1.5 hour event. It's much bigger. So I say that coaching is a lifelong relationship. So even if the engagement or the conversation is limited, 6-month engagement or 16 minutes conversation, but that relationship is lifelong because that confidentiality is lifelong. After the engagement, you are still bound by the confidentiality. So elements of partnering can also be what goes into the conversation and the engagement. So what are the responsibilities of the coach and the coachee? And again, I use ICF agreement, which is available for all the members, right? And again, one of our members, she said, this is the first legal agreement which is not so legal. There's so much of love in that agreement, she said. I just discovered that love in that agreement. Student of Commerce and Management. There is less legal. This agreement is not like all the terms and conditions that you would never sign if you read, right? Any terms and agreement, and I come from 21 years of retail lending. All our agreements, even only at the training level, even I have read that because I know there's so much in our favor and not in the favor of the client. So, but coaching agreement that ICF has on their website as a resource for coaches is a proof of partnering. So every element of it, how does it go? Another example when it comes to partnering in the realm of action, because we are supposed to be talking about action here. All my great clients over the last 12 years, when I always tell them, I want when you go back before end of the day, before you retire for the day, please send me a mail, not even a WhatsApp. Send me a mail as to what stays with you till the end of the day. So you're reflecting on it till the end of the day. Allow it to, kind of take shape and finer shape of action and awareness. Then you drop me a mail. Some of the best clients who have done that have been compliant with actions, and they invariably achieve not only that goal and more. Not only that, they achieving performance, coaching for performance. So John Whitmer says, is a byproduct of the coaching that we do, because our coaching is for potential, personal and professional. So in terms of agreement, that question that what are the elements of agreement, it's also about how committed the client is to reflection and action, not just action, reflection and action. The client should not forget me between this session and the next session. Next session, when the calendar pops up, suddenly he remembers that, yeah, I have a session with my coach. No, that is not enough. You'll never transform. You'll never experience transformational shift. Yeah, to that extent, those are the proof of a client's commitment to the process. Now, again, you may see a difference between a self-sponsored or a company-sponsored client, but that difference also should disappear along the engagement, because that is true partnering again. So every relationship, especially if it is company-sponsored, I'm always curious, what is the level of trust? It is definitely low. See, I am not somebody who is tall, dark, handsome, flamboyant, none of this, right? And I wear my unassuming nature very comfortably on me, that my spiritual orientation helps me. I'm confident also of my capabilities. And of course, I have stories to tell. But so the client's response, it is so evident on them on the first session. Typically, if it is company sponsored, high potential CXO, who the hell is this bloody coach who can help me? It is written on their face. And from there, we are taking steps to build the relationship. So again, going back to the question, as a coach, I have a responsibility to build the trust and relationship. It may not evolve to, the best of friends, but I still have a responsibility. Every thought, word, and deed in that engagement, it's a building block to that relationship. That is partnering. Now, is there a consistency in my email, in my conversation, in my WhatsApp message, even my public presence? One of coaches from Hyderabad shared with me sometime back before COVID a LinkedIn update by a master coach, saying that he was just taking on a service provider for a bad service. Bad service, absolutely evident. Proof is there in the post. But the doubt that this coach had was that, is that how a coach should behave? Right? So if that guy had a coach like that, he may not like it. That is not partnering. So you can't fake it also. That's why the relationship is built on the client should accept the coach as I am, and I also should accept where the client is, which we'll do thanks to our training. Our golf friends, John is here, and others, they say we meet the client where the client is, right? Like the golf they play, where the ball is, they go to the ball. We do that. But at some stage, does the client also start seeing that? That is partnering. Now, last point, at the chemistry session, we should set this context. I draw the triangle and say that this is not a conversation at the base of the triangle. We are going to partner towards a higher consciousness. And I use these words very liberally. Transformation, higher consciousness, higher frequency, because these sit very comfortably with me. One HR leader, actually, PK introduced me to her for an engagement. She said, I'm scared how irresponsibly you coaches use the word transformation. So I said, I use it with all the responsibility. And I said, if the client is not signing me up for transformation shift, or you as HR leader is not signing up for transformation shift, then are we truly exploring the possibility of coaching? Right? So why I'm giving this real life example is you face pushback, but then your conviction should see us through. Yeah. Does it answer to some extent? Whoever asked that question about partnering? Great question. I've never faced that question even in my mentoring in the past. Thank you for it. To some extent, yeah. We'll build on it, Manu. Thank you. Mike, you have been waiting for a long time. Over to you.
Yeah, so thank you, Subhash. I was just going to add a few thoughts I had. So one, I think transcendence, as I think Pankaj Dixit put it here, has got more meaning for me. I would say more meaning as it's in the world, because transformation seems to have an end to itself. Transcendence, as we see it, when I come into a coaching session, I need to transcend my physical environment, my mental thoughts, and have to grow, like you said, no, my growth happens in the very process of having walked into the room and sat in my chair as a coach, right? I need to transcend all my physical barriers and mental barriers to be in the space. So when I say about deep presence, it is not just being with the client or on the physical space only, but also in the, in all the realms, right? In our cognitive realm, in our psychological realm, in our physical realm, right? And our emotional connect, the intimacy that we bring into the, unless we have that, I think it's very difficult to be, in a coaching space and have compassion to the situation. Similarly, in every conversation that we try to do, I think there is something that we're trying to transcend beyond the limits. And transcendence is a process that continues to happen. It is not like mastery where you can say, I've mastered something and there it is, I'm at the peak of Mount Everest. But there is a level that you can go beyond everything. Like you talked about the 7 levels of nirvana. Transcendence is, going through every shift very intentionally, and how we can make that shift happen. And you're very right in saying, we're not being paid for transcending ourselves, but transforming ourselves. Now, I'll use it interchangingly now for the benefit of everybody. But that's the beauty of it. You're getting paid for your own transcendence.
Yeah.
Right?
Beautifully said. We are paid for our own transcendence. Yeah, thank you for that. Absolutely. Thanks, Pankaj.
I felt about some of the most powerful coaching sessions. And some coaching sessions, I come back thinking, there is so much more for me to work on myself.
Yeah.
The client has to do. And I had a recent experience. I have the honor of being a pro bono coach for an ex-ambassador of India. And he told me at the end of the session, I'm sorry to be frustrating your efforts. Which was in a very polite, very diplomatic language to say it didn't work. All right. So at the end of the session, I was thinking to myself, okay, there is so much more work for me to do on myself. If I'm not able to show at least a degree of shift in this conversation, forget about 360 degrees, a degree of shift. Right? So that's just my reflection on it. That's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. In a couple of points I had made note also is, Brian Tracy says, right, the guru of goal setting. He says, the whole journey of setting the goals and working towards was never about the goals at all. It's about what you become in the process. Right? I'm kind of paraphrasing what he would have said. I've had the fortune of meeting him in person in Bangalore, and that's one of my 6 photos on my Facebook profile. Similarly, Sir John Whitmore. This a lot of people are not aware. When John Whitmore passed away, there was a memoriam kind of thing online where they shared one of his recordings, where he says that all goals were about life goals. We look at Grow model as a problem-solving model, or we coaches have hijacked it as a coaching model. But he says the goal, even with those acronyms, SMART, Pure, Clear, those 3 acronyms which he talks about in the book, it was still about life goals beyond all those acronyms. So to that is, if you're talking about life goals, then awareness actions becomes very important. Yeah. I just want to run through some key elements in the interest of time at the markers, right? I mean, no discussion on ICF CC is complete without a bit of reflection on the markers. So 8.1 is the progress. Are you moving in that direction? So, many of you said, why, the forward is the client moving forward. The progress is important. Now, again, this might sound contradictory. One of our coaches, who was a PCC now, she said, when you say we are here to learn and grow, that's what I keep saying. What is there for the soul to learn and grow? What is there to learn? It knows everything. Grow. What is there to grow? It is complete. Yeah, that is more at an intellectual level. But if you have truly experienced that, we live in that consciousness, then the client wouldn't need a coach also. They won't come to us for sure, right? The clients who come to us wants to experience that growth, wants to experience that learning, wants to experience that deeper self-awareness. So that progress is very important. Yeah. The learning, the 8.2 is about, let me first cover 8.3. Is learning in the session about the situation. 8.2 is about the person. So you can see the ICF has not forgotten 8.3 or the what. That's why I say the coach has a responsibility not to lose sight of that promotion or lose weight or heal this relationship or fix this problem at work. Now I have a client, one of my recent sign up, a high potential senior leader at a Fortune 100 company. His rating from his team is out of the world. People have doubt about whether it is rigged, but he's truly popular, so they know that it's right. With the boss, he's managing the relationship exceptionally well, because I've met his boss physically and I've got the download. He was very forthright. These are 3-4 great things about this guy. These are a couple of things that I don't appreciate, which he needs to work. So that these are 2 reasons why we are hiring you. So work on his strengths and also build on this. So he's popular with his boss, but he's hated by every peer in the system. There is not even one peer who likes him, which he knows his boss knows. So boss says, and he also agrees, that part of the problem lies with them. But then, what is in your control to fix that? So that is one of the things that we are working together. 3 sessions over. It's still a work in progress for him. Engagement is going great, but he doesn't see any shift yet in the relationship. So even that is a goal that the boss has given. It was an engagement for 3 months and additional 3 months done. And we have got into the second phase of the next 3 months. And because he has not made move in that one critical element, I'm hired I'm giving real examples so that I'm not generally talking, here, without any context. A German CEO has hired me to coach 3 of his 1-down out of the 4. There are 4 1-downs. He feels only these 3 need coaching. The 4th guy is sorted. So, he's not as part of my engagement. One we got signed up, then the second one was added, and third one came much later. But all 3 are working with me. Similar problems. They all work in silos. There is no partnering. There is no collaboration, lone collaboration. They are achieving numbers. But the atmosphere, the culture within is quite toxic. And now I have a helicopter view of the system because I take 360 from a cross section of people. I am more concerned. I mean, in a lighter vein, saying that what is this culture that this system is evolving to? A German brand with a German CEO, right? So when each of these tactical problems are given to us to resolve with the client, partner with the client, pure focus on potential is very selfish. It is selfish on the part of the client. So make sure that you balance these 2. Yeah. New learning. If every conversation does not lead to a new awareness or a new learning, that reflection after the session, it's good to note down what else I could have done in the session. So the client comes up with that, that Amrit Manthan metaphor. What else the client would have discovered about themselves and also in the larger context. Yeah. The coach partners with the client to design post session. Now this is the crux of CC8 for me. The miracle or the magic is not necessarily happening in the session. If I just allow that to be outside the window, I'm very comfortable, even if it's just a conversation, but leaving for the client to do the heavy lifting. Remember that even in the context of partnering, the monkey is on the client's back. You're not carrying the monkey, right? If you're carrying the monkey, then the client will only add to that weight on your back as a coach. So make it a process of action based on reflection based on thinking. So that's why I said, these examples, some of my best clients are those who send me a mail And in the next session, they say that I've done all of this and also some more. So in my engagement, I typically keep one accountability call between the session. And usually my sessions are between 21 days. And I tell the client and the stakeholder organization that you help me to ensure that this session happens every 21 days, plus or minus 1 or 2 days here and there. But both of us are busy. So please don't allow that to slip beyond 25, 26 days. And in between, I do an accountability call. These high-performing clients who had transformational shift have never, even made those frequent calls, especially in the later half, because they have taken the responsibility of thinking, reflection, and action. A client who we equip to do this as a process, will move to a realm of consciousness, or will vibrate at a high frequency, which they can't even dream of at this point of time. Yeah, and again, just as I said, the client pays for that. The client doesn't pay to become a CXO in 3 years and a CEO in 6 years. Yeah, it's very unfair to just restrict to that. Yeah, so the goal that we set in this session should not be restrictive. That's why we spend time on 3.1. Yeah, we discussed about move forward, resources, support, barriers. Again, I know most of your experienced coaches here. 8.6, each of these have to be ticked in a very conversational way. The progress is moving forward. Now, how do we feel the pulse at the end of the session? At the end of the session, when you sit down to reflect, just ask yourself, how am I feeling? In a very non-judgmental way. If you feel light, if you're feeling light, the session has gone good. Don't worry about the magical action and reflection and new learning. No, your being will never bluff. How much ever the client is saying, wow, this, that, and all that, don't fall for that also. The progress forward, the movement forward would be tested how you feel. If you feel less energy, the client would actually be going with lesser energy. And we have a responsibility to leave every client in every session feeling more empowered, more resourceful, at least maintain. If you have taken the client down, then we have done something wrong in the session, that the client has gone, 20 ka 19, right? 20 to 19. No, that doesn't work. So that is also again part of the contracting, the agreement, saying that are we in an empowering way moving forward without sugarcoating? We had direct communication before when we had 11 competencies. Now it is all merged into this. It is still there. A lot of corporates and stakeholders think that coaching is not aggressive enough, not macho enough. No, we have a responsibility to challenge client with permission, but with respect and with empathy. So, it's like we hit the nail, we keep shaking and checking, is it strong enough? That's the progress forward. Then it is resources within themselves, in their environment, and then it is you as a resource. You are the last. You are not the first resource as a coach. And support and potential barriers. Yeah. Again, at an early stage of training, people think, should the client be looking at the potential barriers? Will it not be taking the client lower? No. If the client has got a new awareness at CC7, that is leading to the progress and movement forward and action, it is good to look at the other side of the coin to help the client remove the blinkers of action. Sometimes the client over enthusiastically commit to some actions which is beyond their realm at this point of time. It's good to be aggressive. It's good to be audacious about even action. But don't take it too aggressive also. Yeah. So we need to hold the lens for the client. Yeah, I can see a hand. Please go ahead.
Subhash, you mentioned about moving ahead in the journey for self-transformation and towards transcendation. So I was wanting to inquire, if in a nutshell, could you share what are those innovative ways you have learned through experience or on the job of innovative ways of bringing about CC8 in a more meaningful manner for the client?
So for me, I'll answer in two parts, Anurag. One is about powerful questioning. I'm deliberately digressing with the permission. About direct, powerful questioning is like John spoke about generative listening. Powerful questioning comes from that space. We are not thinking about what to ask. The client speaks, we hold the space, and then we ask a question without even thinking. That's where we are tapping into CC2, which talks a lot about intuition. You can see the video by ICF. That is perhaps the only competency where intuition is kind of tapped into. So just like powerful question, asking a powerful questioning happens in the moment, and sometimes you are surprised that did I ask that question? Did it come from me? In a positive way, right? I mean, we should not be distracted by the powerfulness of the question. But that's what is emerging. That is true partnering. Only then it is partnering. Similarly, action differs from client to client, Anurag. There is no innovative way to action. It depends on the setting the goal and the exploration. Some of my friends here who, they are familiar with this story. Somebody who, I don't know if he's on the call. One of the coaches who are on the SS journey with us says, I'm bringing just an example quickly. This guy in November says, I am 126 kilos over the last 10 to 15 years, quote unquote. I am 126 kilos for the last 10 to 15 years. And on January 1st, I want to be 100 kilos. Somebody who has been overweight for 10 to 15 years wants to hit 100, lose 26 kilos in less than 2 months. Now, I am on a perpetual journey to lose weight, right? I've been targeting losing weight, right? And I lose some weight, then the weight loses me, or I gain the weight, right? I mean, it's a tug of war between us. Now, this guy, this is recorded. I mean, my friends here know that there's a testimonial that we play in the classroom. He came up with the action. Now he says, I've done medical, Ayurvedic, hypnotherapy, past life regression, everything I've done. And I've not been able to lose weight. Right? Anurag, on January 1st that year, so suddenly the entire batch, the cohort became his accountability partner. And even if he doesn't respond anything, we'll ask him, how are you progressing? Are you committed to the action? Are you doing everything? And so sometimes he said, now you don't become nagging, like my wife and mom is already nagging enough at home. Now you don't nag more. Those kind of friendly banter. On January 1st, he was 106. On around 25th Jan, he was 100 kilos. This is around 2015. As of date, he has never crossed 100 after that. And when we had a session, we invited him, and he was kind enough to share, which is recorded. He said, I'm always in the range of 90 to 95. When I go to 95, I know what it takes to come back. Now, why I'm giving this example, Anurag, is, I'm a Fauji kid. For me, I have to get up early. That is my value, early morning. Go for some exercise and jog or whatever it is. It's running, now it is yoga for me. But if somebody is not a morning person, can you even trust on it? Can I be even biased that, if you have to lose 26 kilos, you have to just get up 1 hour early and do whatever it takes to burn the calories? No, it will never work for them. So that client in the moment, in the partnering, based on the values, beliefs, that 7.1, values, beliefs, needs, and wants, come up with what are 1, 2, 3 things that I'll do. And then it is a compliance. That's where the competency that we saw, 8.6, resources and accountability and barriers. This guy did something that helped him. Now, 2 additional points to that story. One, it is like that people hit stone 20 times, 21st time I hit, the stone broke. So I don't take any credit for it. Number 2, which is more important, and I'm taking to liberty to say this, bit away from a classical coaching, but for me, this is coaching. This is why clients pay for us. This is where results actually happen. What happened with this guy is something shifted within him at a subconscious level. And this is somebody who knows all this mind's work and all that stuff. That coaching helped him in his own way to come up with awareness and action, doing and being. So, Anurag, I'm just shifting the goalpost here. It was doing is only half the story. For me, it is how much of it is being. And
Thank you, Subhash.
I'm not talking about even law of attraction and all that. It's about, can you truly trust that I'm 100 kilos? Perhaps that's what he achieved from that session.
Thank you, Subhash.
Thank you. Satyajit, over to you.
Right, thank you, Subhash. My query is that you talked about 8.2 and 8.3. Most of the sessions which I practiced, in the resolving situation 3.4, Kochi comes out with the action. So when it comes to action, we ask that are we moving forward and all those things, and then we shift directly to action plan, resources, and the barriers and the coaching end. Except when I am a coachee where my monkey is jumping, I have seen my coaches asking these questions. Okay, what did we learn out of this situation? So there are a lot of situations which I put. What is this talking about you? So I feel, these are the questions which are part of 8.2, 8.3. But in such situation where coaching comes out with an action plan, we are unable to ask this 8.2 and 8.3 because in the resolving situation, we said, okay, I got it, I reflect, I think this is what I should do. Then we said anything else? No, I think I'm okay with this. So then we are not able to mark 8.2 or 8.3. I mean, even if it seems like a checklist, this is not correct as per your guidance. So, but then I saw I am not able to do 8.2, 8.3. In my case, it is happening because multiple situations and multiple examples I am giving. So the coach is trying to bring me back to the 8.2, 8.3, and then coming to action plan because I'm not ready to come to action plan easily. But otherwise, when the client is coming with an easy action plan, not want to move further, in that case, this marking is not happening. So what is it correct?
So
8.2,
couple of answers to that. Thank you for the question. Number one, it's good to reflect on 3.1. Did I do a proper, deeper 3.1 at that stage? Yeah, because this is something I discovered much later in my coaching journey, right? The power of 3.1, and that came to me only during my ICF assessor training. So that is one clue for you, Satyajit. Look at, is there a scope to look at 3.1 deeper, better, and all that? Number two, the exploration of the 7.1 again, needs, wants. Are we exploring deeper enough? Are we going to that realm which the client was not aware? And you can make out if the client is answering quickly without reflecting, thinking, it's already coming from here. The client knows it. And a lot of reflective clients will be able to answer. But then are we giving enough pause? Are we asking enough powerful questioning? Just keeping silent, right? Uncomfortable silent also sometimes forces the client to think deeper and come up with something. Yeah. Third and final answer is practice, practice, practice. Yeah. As you practice, see this 8.2, 8.3, 8.3 is still easier. What are you learning? Because the process at a basic level also will enable the client to look at something about the goal of the session. The original first goal, what is it? 3.1, what I want to accomplish. But if you are, looking at a deeper level, at a deeper 3.1, the client will discover. So, just stay on. As you practice more, you will discover that power also. Yeah. Thank you for that question. Any other question on the chat or anyone? I'm also mindful of time. Yeah. So we spoke about 8.6, 8.7 accountability. Yeah, I know many of you know there's one coach whom we know who insists on a WhatsApp message from the client every evening saying that I have done today's work. Sometimes I feel sometimes it is too much of a control, but he's a great coach, fantastic human being. So I'm sure he and perhaps even senior to many of us here as a coach. So naturally it has worked for him. Though I'm not recommending so much of a control, micromanagement, but some clients need that. right? So it's about designing the best methods of accountability for themselves. And what does it take for us to keep an accountability? So if the client does not take action, the client will not go beyond the point B. The client may not even reach point B, that point A to point B, that image I showed. So if the client is not reaching point B, both the stakeholders and the client will say that you are not a good coach. So your, reputation is at stake. So when I get into a chemistry session, one thing that I say is, the transformation happens between the session, depends on action, awareness, and reflection. I already said, repeating that. But I also say that, as a sales guy, I have a problem with myself. That is, I expect total commitment to action from you. So please help me on that. That is first level of request. But then I'll figure a way out with every client to see how they are remaining accountable. And it differs from person to person. It also differs from, at the early stage, you may need to focus a little more. But as the conversation improves, the relationship improves, the client also would start being more. The moment the client thinks that this is not about the stakeholder, the company, even if the company is paying, this is for my benefit, then client will do anything for themselves. Marshall Goldsmith, I've heard this from him directly. He says, typically, if the client is not committed to actions, first time he gives a warning. It's in second time he'll exit the engagement. I think Marshall Goldsmith can do that. I can't afford to do that. So we have to be a little more patient and empathetic and supportive, and also to ask the client, what are you learning about yourself in not sticking to the actions that you came up with for your good? What are you learning about yourself? I have a classical line from my healing space. How is it serving you? If it comes at the right time, in the right moment, how is it serving you? It can shake the client by not taking action, right? And at that level, 1-to-1, there is no scope for excuses and shallow commitments, right? This is all we are talking about transformational shift. And I keep talking about this transformation or transcendence, as Mike rightly pointed out, or Pankaj. That is something that we should not settle for anything less than that. So, why I also invoked Marshall, it just came up in the Karthik, you have a question? Why I brought up Marshall is also that, he's considered to be the number one executive coach, right? One of the big brands in coaching. There is something that he would have done in terms of action, and it all boiled down to action. Yeah. And another thing I've seen, two related points is I've seen coaches don't challenge the client enough. There is some fear of losing the client, losing the relationship. We don't do that with our spouses and kids, no? We are never afraid of losing our parents, spouse, or kids. Then why are we scared about the relationship in a coaching relationship? Unless we are challenging, unless we are truly partnering in letter and spirit, we are not playing to our potential as a coach. There is no scope for fear. There is no scope for fear. And I don't know, friends here again, no. Fear is at one end of the spectrum. It's my faith at the other end of the spectrum. So these are the two ends of the same spectrum. If I have faith in myself, if I have faith in client's potential, and if I have faith in the process, the triangle, the upper portion, even if the client walks out, the client was not ready for you. It's client's karma, that's all. And that is my ultimate thing. It is client's karma. As long as I have done my bit, the client is not ready for it. Same thing, it comes up in CC2. The client crash an intuition or an observation. It may not be wrong. The client just may not be ready for it. Yeah. So accountability is integral to to the transformational shift in a coaching engagement. I had an IM topper as one of my clients from one of those, the leading e-com brand from Bangalore. So, I have the company's mandated goals, and I also ask, give me 1 or 2 personal goals. And this goal is between just me and the client. We don't share that with the stakeholders, the company in this case. He said, he's a gold medalist, of course, a bookworm. He said, I don't read anymore. And that bothers me every day. I want to read more. Right? And, we didn't even bring it into our conversations. Once I was sitting at this Yogistan, one of my favorite addas. This guy walks in with this book. It was Shoe Dog, pre-COVID. Shoe Dog, the Nike story, saying that, have you read this book? So I said, delighted to see a book in your hand. You wanted to read. He said, I have a book in my car. I have a book at home. I'm reading 2 books simultaneously. I've rediscovered. We did nothing in the engagement, in the realm of reading. It just happened. And for me, that is the power of coaching. Another story, again, a favorite story. This guy was overlooked for a All India role, head of India operations. He thought, I am the guy. But they just parachuted somebody else. And this guy was operating out of Singapore. This is a real case study. And that HR head is a PCC. So, if at all she is here or she's listening, she'll know. This guy was overlooked for promotion and was heading sales. He just went into a shell. This is around 2020. Midway through the engagement, it was face-to-face. COVID restrictions happened. So a couple of sessions we did online. So, what was the 6-month engagement went into 12 years, and he got that extension because of COVID restriction. He was not happy doing online and all that. COVID restrictions, when he had started my engagement, one of the feedback that I got in 360 from his stakeholders was that this guy just started drinking more. He's more alcoholic now. He's more addictive now. Real case study, no spicing here. I'm not adding any spice. Somewhere along the engagement, he said in one conversation, saying that, I want to share something. I've quit drinking. So we never discussed. That was the problem that came in 360 stakeholder conversation, but we never spoke about it because I never wanted to bring it up. And he feel that I'm being judged or I'm biased, and they would have known by then that I'm a teetotaler and I don't drink. No, I didn't want that to come. So, or maybe it was too early. On his own, he quit drinking. No, forget drinking is just a metaphor. Any addiction that we are able to come out is a transformational shift for the client. We have had two coaches on our journey doing demo session in the classroom who has quit smoking. I don't know, one of them might be even on this call. He quit smoking. Both of them, the reason? In the session, they discovered that, my relationship with my toddler child, okay, less than 5-year-old in both the cases, is not where I wanted to be because they complain about the cigarette smell. In the conversation they left. So if so much can be achieved in one session, imagine how an engagement can impact a client. Yeah. So these two are progress. You need to celebrate. Last point from a marker. We all need pat on the back. I've heard a statistic that every adult expects 18 times in a day. There is that empathy need, esteem needs that Maslow speaks of, just one notch below self-actualization need. It seems 18 times. Forget the number. You don't get 18 times for sure. Not even 8 times. As adults, all of us coaches here, just look at where, it's end of the day, 8 o'clock. How many times did we get that? Why we don't get it? Because we don't give. It's partly perhaps cultural. Yeah. At least in organizations, we used to say good show, right? In my banking days, we used to joke. First of every month used to be the good show mail day. We'll find some excuse to send a good show and mark all the bosses and all that, just to show that we are doing something. I'm working. But the client needs celebration, and it is those, the classical empathy demonstration. We're just not giving generic feedback. We're celebrating the progress and learning in the session. So unless there is a new awareness, unless there is a reflection, there is no scope for celebration. So for me, a better option is also always to say that I want to acknowledge you for the shift in your energy, for the shift in your, your very being. You came with a lot of low energy. There's such a transformation shift in the session. And the client should agree, the client should feel it. Only then there's something has moved in the session. If you're not sure, then at least ask the client. Let it be a question. How do you want to acknowledge yourself? How do you want to celebrate the progress that you've made in the session? At least the client will think that, okay, we have made some progress. There is something to celebrate. At least the coach sees, even if I'm not saying it, that itself will leave the client more resourceful. And always seek permission to end the session. And all this, CC 8.1 to 8.9 should weave into the conversation. As an assessor, we should struggle to pick up these competencies. It should not just stand out. It should be weaved so, intensely into the conversation that it just goes into the conversation in a flow. And that comes from the coaching mindset. Have an internalized, I don't process compliments. I don't give compliments. That is my nature. And I'm aware that awareness helps me. I need to build on that muscle. That is embodying coaching mindset. Yeah. So we're almost at the top of the hour. Any question? I'm not looking at the chat at all. So if there's anything, please do.
Full of thank yous and gratitude for the session, Subhash. So
Thank you.
definitely has been a phenomenal session.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So much you said weaving will come only by practice. So weaving is the right learning for this. Unless we practice, we'll not.
Practice. Yeah. Thanks for that, Satyajit. I'm repeating. There is a magic in that framework, which I don't think we have discovered fully. We are still discovering. So just surrender to the process. Let the magic emerge. That is partnering. That's that Amrit Manthan I keep referring to. Thank you once again. Thank you, Shanti. Thank you, Bangalore chapter. Thanks to everyone who stayed on till the end. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Subhash.
Thank you, Subhash. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Shanti. Thank
Good
you,
night.
Subhash.
Yeah, people have posted
Thank you, Subhash.
the upcoming sessions. One is business development on 20th. And 1st of April, we are all going to get creative. No April Fools. We are going to really come with colors and brushes. Let's enjoy.
It posted a group also.
Yes, will do.
Yeah.
Thank you.